Hello, I'm Bud McCord. I'm here in Brazil, South America. Welcome to Food for Thought. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. I also believe with all of my heart that we can learn as believers in Christ to think with Jesus. And we think with Jesus, we are more able to become one with what he wants and what he is and what he wants us to deliver into the world, which is a tremendous opportunity for each one of us. As always, we're going to read a devotional that has thoughts about a particular subject. We'll think together, and then you take these thoughts to Jesus so that he can be what he actually is in your life, which is the final word. The subject again today is connected to Genesis chapter 4, the story of Cain and Abel. Many people treat the story of Cain and Abel like some sort of a simple little story that's in the beginning of the Bible. We don't know exactly why, but literally in Genesis chapter 4, we see the struggle for power to define reality that racks the world today with violence in the name of God and with violence in the name of faith and religion and reality. So it is a completely important, relevant part of the scriptures for us to understand. The title of this for October 30th is When Cain Kills Abel. Everyone knows that Cain killed Abel. Even so, have you ever considered why Cain killed Abel? Cain's anger was rooted in his failure to establish once and for all what God expects of human beings. To establish for all humans what God expects of them, Cain had made his best offer. He offered the work of his hands. Abel had made his offer as well. God accepted Abel's offering, but not Cain's. When God affirmed Abel's offering, Cain was furious. Cain understood establishing once and for all what men think God expects of them is the most powerful force on earth. Cain did not want to do what God expects. Cain wanted this power over mankind. Abel just wanted to do what God expected of men. Abel wanted to leave the power up to God. Leaders who want the power to establish what God expects of all men become violent when they are not the final word. They will find a way to force their view and their will on every Abel who just wants to do what God expects of us. Jesus simply did what God expects of mankind. For doing that, what God expects of us without seeking power, he was persecuted and hated by the Cains of his day. He told those who follow him to expect the same reaction from the Cains of their day. The Cains of the world still kill in the name of what is right for their power. They may not even use God's will as their excuse, but in their minds, they want to tell God and every Abel how things should be. God will take care of the Cains of the world. As costly and dangerous as it may be to only want to do what God expects of us among the Cains of our day, we must be the people who submit to God like Jesus did. Abel did not lose his life. He found it. So do we when we live Jesus. Cain represents humanity's desire to set the rules of reality and control reality. They may want to even do it in the name of God. But when they bring this offering of their own work and their own sweat and their own blood and their own tears to God and say, we got it right. We got it right on our own. God rejects the offering. They become furious. At the same time, in the world, there are people who come before God saying, we can't get it right. We need you. We need your forgiveness. We need your love. We need your presence. There's a spirit of Cain, and the spirit of Cain is the spirit of control. It's a spirit that's angry. It's a spirit that says, I must have control of my reality, and I will take my reality to God, and he will accept it, or I'll force him to accept it. But it just doesn't work that way in the spiritual realm. We are to come to reality. We are to come to God. And we are to come empty-handed, except we come with an offering of something that God created and something God did, the offering of the sheep or the lamb, the blood sacrifice that says, you are the reality, you created, we are the created. You are the creator, we are the created. And so there is a spirit of Cain and there is a spirit of Abel. And you say, well, what does that have to do with me? It has a lot to do with you. It has a lot to do with me, because the spirit of Cain is the spirit of this world. It is the spirit of the evil one that controls the thinking in this world. It is the thinking of the thief, of the murderer. It is the thinking of the liar. And the lie is that we can create our own reality, and therefore we can be to ourselves what God is supposed to be. Now, how do you know if you have the spirit of Cain? Here's a little bit of a way that perhaps you can think about this. You can take these thoughts of Jesus. You have the spirit of Cain if you have a deep desire to eliminate the enemies of your view of reality. You have the spirit of Cain if you have a desire to eliminate the enemy of your view of reality. That is the spirit of Cain. It's election season here in Brazil. It's election season in the United States. It's the election season in many places. Right now, there are people that are willing to kill for their view of reality. That's the spirit of Cain. Now, if you want to love your enemy, that's the spirit that we could see some of in Abel, but we can see all of that spirit in the person of Christ, where he died for us when we were his enemies. If we want to live by the sword, that's the spirit of Cain. The spirit of Cain is an imposition. It is a desire to destroy the enemy and make the enemy submit to the power of the sword. Now, the sword can be the physical sword. It can be the sword of our thoughts. It can be the sword of our mouth. It can be the sword of our emotions. It's a sword. It wants to force submission. Or we can be submitted to the truth. And we let the truth take us wherever it takes us. We let the truth be the only thing that we offer to people as our resistance. But really, it's an act of love to say the truth, even though they may hate us for saying the truth. Another way we know if we have the spirit of Cain is if we have the spirit of Cain, we crucify others. We make them a public spectacle of their own mistakes, which we have judged and we have found them guilty, and we are applying the penalty to their life. We reject them fully and completely. We crucify them. Now, if you have the spirit of Christ, which the spirit of Abel was an image of, an illustration of, but we have the spirit of Christ, we carry our cross. We carry our cross, and it's a symbol of delivering love. You can tell if you have the spirit of Cain if you hear your voice all the time. Cain only heard his own voice, and his own voice said, kill Abel. But really, it wasn't just his voice. It was another voice behind that voice, the voice behind murders, the voice behind theft, the voice behind lying. In the scriptures, he's identified with Satan, the evil one. Now, if you hear and obey the voice of Jesus, that's the kind of voice that Abel was hearing, and that is the kind of voice that we would have to hear. If we are sheep and we are wolves in sheep's clothing, that is, we're smiling on the outside, we're loving on the outside, but on the inside, we want to just destroy and devour everyone who doesn't agree with us, then that's Cain. Now, if we are really sheep, what we want is to let our lives be an example of what it looks like to be submitted to the reality that was revealed in Jesus. Genesis chapter 4 is not for the weak of heart. It's for those who have the ability to look and see whether you have the characteristics of Cain or you have the characteristics of Abel, whether you are carrying a cross or crucifying people on your cross, on your own opinion. Think about these things. Take these thoughts to Jesus, and he is the Word. He is the final word. He is also the first word. So let him be the final word and the first word in your life. God bless you.